So one of my subscribers requested me to play the hippopotamus or the hippo in one of my streams. Why would I do that? Anyway, this video is about a hippo. Before I play a game or two, let's review the opening theory. First, this is how the hippopotamus defense looks like. Obviously, it's more of a system than a defense. You just need to visualize this position where you fianchetto your two bishops and put your knights in front of the queen and king. Then the pawn structure like that. And if I remember very well, your main pawn breaks will happen along the c file and f file. Most of the times you will be playing pawn to c5, especially in the middle game after completing your opening development, and then put your queen on c7. Sometimes you will switch back to the e5 ideas and all that. Also playing pawn to f5. All depends on where the wind goes. And another plan of the hippo is where you start advancing your g pawn. So either play g5 or b5 to kick away bishops or other pieces. This also gives an extra space for your knight to develop to. Sometimes if you run out of ideas, just play pawn to e5, kind of the rat defense if you think about it. Look to close or break open the center with either e5 or d5. The secret is to know which pawn break to initiate according to the position on the board. One notable game that was played by Eric Rosen went like this. White played e4. Obviously, Eric Rosen had black pieces. He started with g6, kind of the modern defense. Knight c3 was played, bishop g7, knight f3, b6, d4. So these moves don't really matter in the opening stage. You are just setting up your position. This is why the hippo is known as a system more than an opening. Bishop e3 was played, then e6. Eric played in no particular order, just setting up the hippo, you know, s6, then d6, then h6, just stopping knight g5 or bishop g5, I guess, knight e2, knight e7, knight f4, knight d7, then pawn to c3. And then here is where the middle game plans begin. Pawn break on c5 gives black an initiative. You go c5. Next time, you think of playing queen c7, like what you do in the Brazilian defense or in the right defense if you think about it. Eric's opponent took on c5 anyways, and then knight takes was played. Yes, this is the piece you want to take back with, threatening to capture the bishop next. Bishop e2 was played, and then knight takes e4. So you now understand queen c2, knight f5, attacking this other bishop. Knight d2 was played, and then knight takes, attacking the queen. Pawn takes, queen h4 check. Pap. The rook died. Anyway, this is one example game that demonstrates how the hippopotamus system can be played. So once again, the hippo can also be played against d4 if I'm not mistaken. You can start with the modern defense. They play c4, you go bishop g7 as if you just want to play the normal modern defense, queen's pawn game. After knight c3, this is where you play b6, and after something like pawn to e4, you go bishop b7, if knight f3, again you go d6. In no particular order, by the way. E6 is also playable, even pawn to s6. But anyway, d6 is always safer, as you do in the peg defense whenever you see pawn to e4. So bishop e2, you go knight d7. I like this move because if anything, I'm ready to go pawn to e5. This is the right defense move. Let's just say white castle short, you go pawn to, although under normal circumstances you want to go e5, transposing into the king's Indian defense. Say white plays bishop g5. This is where you may need to play knight e7. Say queen d2. If you castle short, white will be glad to play bishop h6, so this is why you want to chase that bishop away. If bishop h4, you can even start attacking right away with g5, so that after this you go g4. Anyway, pawn to f5 is also playable, by the way, in this particular position. Speaking of the hippo, you want to play moves like s6, playing tortoise chess, non-committal moves, say rook f e1. Now that your development is over, you are out of the opening stage, you can start playing chess. Even pawn to g4 here works. Point is, after knight h4, you simply take a free pawn. Next, you might even consider taking the knight. Bishop e2, knight c6 looks great, at least to me. Bishop takes, you go queen g5. This trade looks powerful in favor of black. Knight f3, you have all sorts of things that you can do. Even bishop takes is okay. After pawn takes, you go knight f6, attacking that other bishop. After this, you have g4. Once again, you just need to know when to initiate pawn breaks or open up the position. Be quick with your development in the opening stage and know when to open up the position with your pawn breaks. especially the c5 pawn break and the f5 pawn break. If I can give you a straightforward way to remember the opening moves of the Hippo is by doing this. Start with your 2 pawns first like this. After d4 you go e6. Look at this. And after knight f3, this is when you play g6. No harm. After knight c3, you can play bishop g7 if you want, or just play no harm. Once again, if e5, you advance your d pawn. If d5, you advance your e pawn. That's what we're doing with these pawns. If bishop d3, normal development, you go bishop g7. If bishop e3, normal development, you go bishop b7. If queen d2, maybe they want to castle long, you go knight d7. Maybe preparing to go e5 next. If they castle long, you go knight e7. Finally, your Hippo defense. h4 can be met with h6. So that if this happens, you advance your g pawn. What else? Let's just say king b1, you simply play pawn to a6. Now, your Hippo formation is complete. What next? You want to start thinking of playing pawn to c5, your major pawn break, put your queen on c7, and probably castle long, put your king on b8 and all that. So even when you are developing your pieces in the opening stage and your pawns, you just need to ensure that you're doing the right thing. You are responding to your opponent's threats and moves. It's up to you to choose where you want to castle, either long or short. You will see moves like g4, but this is where you want to play c5, or in this particular position, pawn to b5. If g5, you go h5. Let's say pawn to a3. Since your king side is locked, you want to put your king to safety, and then after any move, you go rook b8. Playing slow chess, but very effective if you think about it. We can't cover everything, but I guess you get the idea. Now it is time for me to demonstrate how to hippopotamize your opponents. By the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon, or simply buying my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That really helps. Let's go. Right, here we have a game. Let's see what my opponent is going to play. Pawn to e4. Can I try the Hippo for the first time? Let's go d6. e6. I don't know if I'm doing everything right. I want to play the Hippo. Let me go pawn to g6. There we see knight c3. I'm playing the Hippo for the first time. It's called the hippopotamus defense, by the way. I guess this is where we play, or this is where they play pawn to pawn to s6. Oh, what do they do? I think g6. After bishop d3, you go bishop g7, and then you put your knights on the center of the board. Yeah, this is a challenging move. Maybe after pawn to h4, you just go h6, if I'm not mistaken. Point is, if h5, you go g5. So you just want to play a slow game that bores your opponent to death and begin fighting in the middle game. But you see, the Hippo is somehow passive in my opinion, in that you are not attacking as black. You're just forming your position, making your formation. There we see pawn to g4. Let me complete my hippopotamus formation. Now that my formation is complete, I'm tempted to play pawn to c5 in this position, which is the only attacking move, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm attacking this pawn here. The pawn takes, and now I have a choice: taking back with my b pawn, my d pawn, or my knight. I don't usually play this. I'm just doing this for my subscribers who requested me to make a video on the hippopotamus defense. Now I can just cast a shot, I guess. What else can I do? Ooh, what else do I know? Point is, if g5, I have h4. If that, I had pawn to g5. This is the only reason why I don't like the hippopotamus, because white usually gains initiative, especially on the king side, just pushing their pawns. But anyway, look how deadly this can be. Pawn to d5, and now I'm winning a piece on move number 14. This kind of looks like the Noah's Ark trap if you think about it. I'm attacking the bishop. After bishop a2, yep, now I can double attack the bishop and the knight. Wow. And just like that, white is losing a minor piece. They chose to keep the rook. And now if I want, I can take on c3. Let me do that. That comes with an attack on the rook, if you think about it. And then, what else? Maybe I just retreat. Oh, my bishop is under attack, my light squad bishop. Perhaps exchanging all the pieces out. Bishop takes, knight takes. That's the only thing I know. So I should mention to say I'm playing against a 2347 rated player. Now I'm about to pin the queen to the king. Wow. This is the Hippo at its best, you guys. Look what I'm doing to this innocent soul. Greatly, my opponent has no shame to resign. Wow. I just defeated a 2300 rated player with the Hippo. The hippopotamus defense. What do I think of this? Is this a good opening response that people should play? Well, not on my watch, but I wouldn't mind giving it a try. Although it looks too risky. Maybe I was just lucky that my opponent didn't know exactly what to do. I ended up winning the knight on move number 17. Pap. Maybe I was just lucky. Let me try one more game with the hippopotamus defense. By the way, you can check out my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That's how you support this channel, by the way. I don't ask for donations or free money. So the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon or simply buying my courses. That really helps.